21. The main event. It must have been some Sunday morning. The most radical moment in the history of the world was that Sunday morning when Jesus rose from the dead. Ignore it if you wish, or pretend it didn't happen, but it is simply impossible to make sense of life and history without acknowledging the resurrection. I think I could probably write a whole book about the resurrection and not accomplish what Lee Strobel accomplished in the following short article, How Easter Killed My Faith in Atheism. It was the worst news I could have got as an atheist. My agnostic wife has decided to become a Christian. 2 words shot through my mind. The first was explective, and the second was divorce. I thought she was going to turn into a self-righteous holy roller. But over the following months, I was intrigued by the positive changes in her character and values. Finally, I decided to take my journalism and legal training. I was the legal editor of the Chicago Tribune, and systematically investigate whether there was any credibility to Christianity. Maybe I figured I could extricate her from this cult. I quickly determined that the alleged resurrection of Jesus was the key. Anyone can claim to be divine, but if Jesus backed up his claim by returning from the dead, then that was awfully good evidence he was telling the truth. For nearly 2 years, I explored the minuet of the historical data on whether Easter was a myth or reality. I didn't merely accept the New Testament at face value. I was determined only to consider facts that were well supported historically. As my investigation unfolded, my atheism began to buckle. Was Jesus really executed? In my opinion, the evidence is so strong that even atheist historian Jared Luderman said his death by crucifixion was indisputable. Was Jesus' tomb empty? Scholar William Lane Craig points out that its location was known to Christians and non-Christians alike, so if it hadn't been empty, it would have been impossible for a movement founded on the resurrection to have exploded into existence in the same city where Jesus had been publicly executed just a few weeks before. Besides, even Jesus' opponents implicitly admitted the tomb was vacant by saying that his body had been stolen. But nobody had a motive for taking the body, especially the disciples. They wouldn't have been willing to die brutal martyrs' deaths if they knew this was all a lie. Did anyone see Jesus alive again? I've identified at least 8 ancient sources, both inside and outside the New Testament, that in my view confirm the apostles' conviction that they encountered the resurrected Christ. Repeatedly, these sources stood strong when I tried to discredit them. Could these encounters have been hallucinations? No way, experts told me. Hallucinations occur in individual brains, like dreams, yet, according to the Bible, Jesus appeared to groups of people on 3 different occasions, including 500 at once. Was this some sort of vision, perhaps prompted by the apostles' grief over their leader's execution? This wouldn't explain the dramatic conversion of Saul, an opponent of Christians, or James, the once skeptical half-brother of Jesus. Neither was primed for a vision. Yet each saw the risen Jesus and later died proclaiming he had appeared to them. Besides, if these were visions, the body would still have been in the tomb. Was the resurrection simply the recasting of ancient mythology, akin to the fanciful tales of Osiris and Mithras? If you want to see a historian laugh out loud, bring up that kind of pop culture nonsense. One by one, my objections evaporated. I read books by skeptics, but their counter-arguments crumbled under the weight of the historical data. No wonder atheists so often come up short in scholarly debates over the resurrection. In the end, after I had thoroughly investigated the matter, I reached an unexpected conclusion. It would actually take more faith to maintain my atheism than to become a follower of Jesus. And that is why I'm now celebrating my 30th Easter as a Christian, not because of wishful thinking, the fear of death, or the need for a psychological crutch, but because of the facts. Rising from the dead. Wow, the ultimate proof that Jesus was a radical is also the central premise of Christianity. This is the main event. Without the resurrection, Christianity is foolishness, Paul tells us. See chapter 1, 1 Corinthians chapter 15, verse 12 to 14. Did the resurrection of Jesus actually happen? Though there is plenty of evidence to suggest it to the open and honest heart, I cannot prove it. There was to be room for faith, otherwise it would be called certainty. But if it did actually happen, if Jesus did rise from the dead, what else is left there to be said? Point to ponder. God wants to resurrect you in some specific way. Verse to live. You are looking for Jesus of Nazareth. He is risen. He is not here. Mark chapter 16, verse 6. Question to consider. What area of your life needs resurrection right now? Prayer. Jesus, unleash the power of your resurrection. Resurrect the area of my life that most needs it today.